We have a fairly simple agenda today. We'll start with some introductions and then dive into the program overview and timeline, and then finally answer any questions that you have regarding the SURF opportunities. So again, Dillaha, my name is Kara Owings. I am a Tuolumne Nation citizen, as well as the Northern California Regional Manager for GoBiz. And then I will also hand it off to my colleagues to introduce themselves. We have Fabiha and Matt.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Fabiha Zaman, and I am a senior program analyst on the Community Economic Resilience Fund program team at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. And I, along with my colleague Matt on the OPR side, will be working on the tribal funding opportunities. So I'll pass it off to Matt.
Morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone. My name is Matt Phillips. I'm also a senior program analyst on the SURF team at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, working with GoBiz and EDD on the tribal funding opportunity and the tribal program. Welcome.
Thank you. And now we would like to allow some space for any tribal leaders or elders to be able to introduce themselves and go ahead, and you can either use the chat or use your mic to make this introduction.
Could you, I can't use the chat because I am traveling and I'm on call in the call zone only. But my name is Clarabelle Terrell. I'm a tribal council member of Yaktichu Yaktilhini Northern Chumash Tribe of San Luis Obispo County and region. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Lathrop. I'm with the YTT Northern Chumash nonprofit. I'm also an elder of the tribe, which is Yaktichu Yaktilhini tribe here in San Luis Obispo.
Thank you, Scott.
Good morning. My name is Mary Norris, and I'm chairwoman of the Caddo tribe in Laytonville, California. We're part of Mendocino County, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Mary. All right, are there any other remaining tribal leadership or elders that would like to introduce themselves?
Valentin Lopez, tribal chair of the Ama Mutsun tribal band. We are in the south of San Jose, Gilroy, Hollister area down to Pinnacles, and going west to Watsonville. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Before we begin, we want to share our purpose and intentions for hosting this session. We're excited to provide you with more information about the SURF program and SURF tribal funding opportunity. We hope to build stronger relationships that will enable tribes to participate in the SURF process. So some goals and intentions for working with tribes. We want to begin with being clear about these goals and intentions as we move forward. First, we want to provide support to California Native American tribes and tribal communities as defined in the Native American Heritage Commission definition. This means SURF is open to both federally recognized and non-federally recognized tribes. We also want to recognize that tribal operations and enterprise are a great strength to California's economy and want to encourage increased tribal involvement throughout the SURF regional processes. As part of the regional processes, we aim to ensure that tribes are involved in decision-making about the SURF process and projects. Finally, through SURF, we hope to make investments that meet tribes where they are and strengthen tribal economies and communities. So what is SURF? In case you haven't heard of SURF yet, we'll go over a brief overview. It is a regional economic development program throughout the state of California. Our purpose is to build, equitable and sustainable economies across California's diverse regions and foster long-term economic resilience in the overall transition to a carbon neutral economy. We recognize that those are some very big concepts and ambitions with SURF, but it's because SURF is an example of the state's larger approach to regional economic planning and transition. We're trying to establish these big principles and goals while looking to regions to fill in the details at the local level. SURF has three main objectives. First, SURF aims to promote a regions-up approach to economic development, equity, and sustainable growth. To do this, we're supporting inclusive economic planning that prioritizes equity, job quality, and sustainability. We also want to help regions align their plans with existing federal and state priorities and to leverage other investments and funding streams to maximize economic resilience programs. Here is the 13 SURF regions throughout the state. We will also be sharing a link in the chat that connects you with the identified conveners for each of those regions that will be engaging and facilitating the planning process within each of those regions. We've developed them to spur a regions-up approach that can maintain consistency with existing efforts, and because the partnerships are formed at this scale, can continue to attract and align investments from state and other resources. Each of these regions will receive a planning grant and implementation dollars. SURF program design has 2 phases and 4 different funding streams. In the planning phase, which is just getting underway, each region will receive $5 million to create these inclusive planning tables called High Road Transition Collaboratives, or HRTCs for short. These tables will include stakeholders from across the region who will help collaboratively to create regional economic recovery and transition plans. Phase 2 will feature implementation projects. During phase 2, we plan to distribute approximately $450 million across the state to fund projects that align with the SURF program goals and with the HRTC regional plans. We have also included a $20 million funding opportunity for California Native American tribes. These funds can be used for either planning or implementation projects. In addition to the previously mentioned funding sources, we recently released guidelines for the Economic Development Pilot Project. Those guidelines are available on the EDD's website. We'll discuss these projects more in a few minutes. And for now, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Matt, to talk more in depth about the various phases of SURF.
Thank you, Kara. So getting a little bit more into specifics, in the planning phase, each region will receive a $5 million award to create a High Road Transition Collaborative, or HRTC, made up of representative stakeholders from across the region. These collaboratives, which are sort of like planning tables, are required to include at least one representative from a tribe located in the region. The collaboratives will work together to conduct research, create strategies, and develop projects. After 18 to 24 months, depending on the length for each regional collaborative will produce a regional economic plan that charts a path forward for the region's economy and identifies key areas and strategies of investment. Apart from the planning and implementation phase, SURF has allocated up to $50 million to fund economic development pilot projects while the planning phase is getting underway. This award will fund a small group of pilot projects that advance an equitable and sustainable economy across California. SURF pilot projects will fund projects aligned with the values of the program that demonstrate potential uses of SURF implementation funds. This award will fund projects that have already emerged from existing regional processes or plans, and the projects are ready to go. This gives regions the opportunity to showcase innovative projects that advance the goals of SURF. Applications for the pilots are currently open, and California Native American tribes and tribal serving nonprofit organizations are eligible and encouraged to apply. The bulk of SURF investments will be made during the implementation phase. This phase will fund projects that demonstrate beneficial impacts to communities, demonstrate community support, promote state climate goals, support labor standards and job quality, and demonstrate a clear role in the regional strategy as developed by the HRTCs. More information will be available about this phase in the coming year. The SURF Tribal Funding Opportunity is a separate set-aside of $20 million in competitive funding open to all California Native American tribes as defined by the Native American Heritage Commission, or NAHC list. Both federally recognized and non-federally recognized tribes are eligible for this funding opportunity. Unlike the planning and implementation phases, there are no regional processes or distinctions for the tribal funding opportunity. Funding is available to all California Native American tribes, regardless of their participation in a SURF regional process. Our objectives with the tribal funding opportunity are to build in as much flexibility as possible for tribes to apply for projects that meet their needs, since we're hoping to meet tribes where they are in the various stages of economic development processes. We're also committed to working in partnership with tribes to ensure funds are accessible and can support tribal-led economic development. More information on the tribal funding opportunity will be available in the spring. As part of our commitment to working with tribes, we've been meeting with tribal stakeholders, including tribal staff, organizations that serve or work with tribes, and tribal state liaisons. We also hosted a tribal listening session in August to help shape the tribal funding opportunity guidelines development. This is certainly not everything we've heard, but here's a high-level summary of those conversations. We've heard that capacity is a challenge, whether that's staff time or resources necessary to find and apply for and monitor grants. That economic development programs that incentivize or require large-scale job creation can make tribal applicants less competitive. That economic development priorities range widely across tribes and sometimes differ from the state's priorities. In terms of program administration, that overly restrictive outcomes and strict reporting requirements result in challenges for tribes. And that tribes have been, or in some cases continue to be, marginalized through state policies or regional planning and development processes. To give you a sense of our timeline, this month we released the SFP, or Solicitation for Proposals, for the Economic Development Pilot Projects. That SFP was released yesterday and is open until February 13th, 2023, and receiving applications now. This spring, we'll finalize the contracts with the HRTCs, those collaboratives for the regional planning process, and the planning phase will officially begin. We're also planning to release a draft of our tribal funding opportunity guidelines for comment. We're aiming to release the final tribal funding opportunity guidelines and solicitation this summer. In the fall, we plan to release draft guidelines for round 1 of the implementation phase. So please keep a lookout for all of these upcoming solicitations. There will be several opportunities to get involved in SURF in the coming months. For one, we're planning tribal networking sessions this spring. To get involved in the regional process, contact the convener for your regional process. We'll drop a link in the chat to get involved to find the convener for your region. This is the entity that will be awarded to guide the SURF process in each region and will know the most about what's happening on the ground in the region. For the tribal funding opportunity, make sure to keep a lookout for upcoming listening sessions, public comment periods, or other announcements. The best way to do this is to sign up for the SURF listserv We have a general listserv and a listserv specific to tribes. We'll also follow up this webinar by sending out a copy of the recording and a copy of the slides that we're presenting today. Next slide. Thank you all so much for joining this information session. Again, the best source of information about SURF is on our website, and you can also sign up for our listservs there. Again, we'll send a roundup of everything we dropped in the chat and of the presentation recording and of the presentation slides shortly after the session ends. Our staff is also available to answer questions. Feel free to reach out to any of us using the emails listed here. Again, at OPR, at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, I'm Matt Phillips, and my colleague Fabiha Zaman we're both available to answer questions. And at the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, Kara Owings is also available for questions and meetings. I'll turn it back over to Kara to open up the Q&A portion.